General Hospital spoilers. Drew's press conference ends in disaster. Willow watches horror show. General Hospital, GH. Spoilers reveal that Drew Quartermain, Cameron Matheson, is planning a press conference that could end in disaster. Will Willow Corinthos, Caitlin McMullen, find herself watching a horror show soon? GH fans know Drew has earned the nickname Congressman Cutthroat, thanks to the scathing article that was published about him in The Invader. Curtis Ashford, Donald Turner, set that article in motion and created plenty of public backlash for Drew. That's why Drew wants to do damage control by getting the press to focus on something positive. Drew's working with the hospital on a pediatric sports initiative, so he intends to highlight that and generate some positive buzz. Drew also blackmailed Portia Robinson, Brooke Kerr, into standing by his side for this press conference. And he pressured Jordan Ashford, Tanisha Harper, to come represent the mayor's office. It's obvious that this press conference is turning into a huge deal. So where's all this heading? Could Drew's reputation take an even worse hit once this event gets underway? Nina Reeves, Cynthia Watros, will extend an offer to Willow during the week of March 17 to 21, but she'll struggle with some doubts later. Lucia Tornina as she deals with some reservations about her plans. Carly Spencer, Laura Wright, made it clear to Nina that they have to turn Willow against Drew fast. Willow's almost ready to move in Drew's place and settle the kids in their new home. So that's the last thing Nina and Carly want. Could Nina's offer and reservations have something to do with the press conference that's brewing? Will Nina plot some sort of public exposure that'll make Drew explode publicly as even more of a villain? Nina might come up with some shocking evidence, whether it's real or fake, and leak it to reporters just in time for this press conference. Drew may expect to answer easy questions about the pediatric sports initiative and pat himself on the back, but he could land on the hot seat instead. Perhaps Drew will have to answer some extremely difficult questions instead as he sweats and squirms through what's next. There's even a chance some gossip might leak to reporters regarding Drew's romantic entanglements with both Willow and her mom. It might be out of Nina's hands if the press finds out another way. Drew might get grilled about all the mother-daughter sleaziness and leave Willow demanding answers about whether this is true. It could force Nina to confirm her former fling with Drew and face the inevitable backlash. Regardless, this press conference might be the perfect place for some sort of Drew downfall. Drew has been making predictions about this solving his image problems, but it'll probably just make things worse in the end. General Hospital spoilers say Willow will get updates on some scandalous news eventually, so stay tuned. Drew Kane stood at the podium, the bright lights of the press conference beaming down on him. The atmosphere inside the Metro Court ballroom was electric, filled with reporters, photographers, and curious onlookers. This was meant to be his triumphant moment, a declaration of his future in Port Charles, his role at Aurora Media, and perhaps even an announcement that would change everything. But no one, not even Drew himself, could have predicted the disaster about to unfold. From the front row, Willow Corinthos clutched a press release in her hand, her fingers trembling slightly. As Michael's wife and someone with deep ties to the Quartermain family, she had a vested interest in how this event would play out. She knew that Drew had been dealing with a lot. His time in prison had hardened him, and his business dealings had been complicated. But what worried her most was his connection to Carly Spencer. Carly was a force of nature, and her entanglement in Aurora's affairs had already put a target on Drew's back more than once. Willow had a nagging feeling in the pit of her stomach that tonight would not go as planned. Drew cleared his throat and adjusted his tie, his expression unreadable. "Good evening, everyone. I appreciate you all coming here tonight. I wanted to take this opportunity to address some of the recent speculations surrounding Aurora Media and my future in Port Charles. The cameras flashed as Drew continued, speaking about the company's direction, his commitment to journalistic integrity, and his hopes for the business community. The words were polished, professional. But then, out of nowhere, a loud voice cut through the room. "You're a fraud, Kane." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd as a man stepped forward, his face twisted in anger. The room buzzed with murmurs as people tried to identify him. Willow's heart clenched when she recognized him, Mason Gatlin. The man had a dangerous past, his ties to shady dealings well known in certain circles. He wasn't someone to take lightly. Drew stiffened. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but this isn't the place for it." Mason smirked, pulling a folded document from his pocket and waving it in the air. "Oh, I think it is. You see, everyone here deserves to know the truth. Drew Kane isn't the hero he pretends to be. He's been making deals behind the scenes, working with people who would make even the mob nervous." Whispers grew louder, reporters scrambling to take notes. Drew's jaw tightened. "I have no idea what you're talking about." Mason took another step forward, his voice full of venom. "No. Then explain these financial records that link you to offshore accounts that just so happen to be connected to arms dealing." Gasps filled the room. Willow felt the air leave her lungs. This couldn't be true, could it? Michael, who had been standing near the back, moved forward, his face unreadable. Carly was already on her feet, her hands clenched into fists. But before anyone could stop the train wreck unfolding, another person stepped into the fray, Nina Reeves. Nina's presence sent another ripple through the crowd. She looked composed, but there was a sharp glint in her eyes. "Mason, I suggest you be very careful about throwing around accusations." Mason laughed. "Oh, I'm just getting started. Your buddy Drew here thinks he's untouchable, but I know the truth. And if he doesn't admit it, well, I have plenty more where this came from." Drew's expression darkened. "You're bluffing." Mason grinned. "Am I? Then why don't you explain what really happened in Pentonville?" The room fell deathly silent. Drew's prison stint was a sore subject, one that he rarely discussed. But the implications in Mason's voice made everyone pause. Had something more sinister happened behind bars? Willow felt sick. She glanced at Michael, whose expression was unreadable. Carly was seething, and Nina looked like she was weighing her next move carefully. The tension was suffocating. Drew took a step forward, his voice calm but firm. "I have nothing to hide." Mason chuckled darkly. "We'll see about that, because if you don't tell them, I will." Then, in an instant, chaos erupted. A crash sounded from the back of the room as security tried to remove Mason, but he resisted, sending tables toppling over. Reporters shouted questions, cameras clicked furiously, and Carly lunged toward Mason, only to be held back by Michael. Willow, frozen in place, realized something horrifying. This wasn't just about Drew. If Mason had dirt on him, it could spread. It could touch Michael, Carly, and even the Quartermains. It could turn their whole world upside down. Drew slammed his hands on the podium. "Enough. I won't let this circus continue." But the damage was done. The press conference, meant to secure his legacy, had instead opened Pandora's box. And as Willow watched the chaos unfold, she knew this was only the beginning of a much bigger storm.